Thanks, Amy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm super excited when people get excited that it was a chick that rode the bike. Keep up with the boys. Okay, so we are going to talk about credit, which sounds like a super exciting topic, I know, but I promise everybody will learn something you did not know, and it is something that is extremely important. So, little background of why I would know anything about credit reports. I have been doing mortgages since 1999. I started at a bank. I did subprime loans. Yes, the bubble's all my fault. Super sorry about that. And then have been working for a paper ever since 2008, kind of coming back from it, which means I have looked at thousands and thousands of credit reports, everywhere from good to bad and in between. And currently I work for Fairway Independent Mortgage. So we're a national lender that can help people purchase a home or refinance in all 50 states. I do a monthly lunch and learn. In fact, it's usually the second Wednesday of every month. It's actually going to be tomorrow. It's not necessarily just market or mortgage information. I am doing a whole lunch and learn with my marketing girl about social media tomorrow from like 2 to 3. So by all means, grab a card. If you guys have any interest in that information, need some help business-wise, let me know. I'd be happy for you to hop on there. But now the fun stuff. Okay, credit reports. Everyone is allowed to get at least one credit report for free every single year. And most people state, why would I bother that? I'm great, no big deal. You would not believe the tiny little things that pop up in your credit report that will trash your score, okay? My famous story is that a woman had a $9 charge on a Kohl's card, and it ruined her credit score by 100 points. And it's because she didn't know. Okay, you guys, she made 6 figures. Do you think it was a matter of not paying $9? No, she had no idea that there was some random late fee that allowed her to just continually be late. So it's important to check, sometimes every 6 months if you're doing a lot of activity, otherwise once a year, make sure everything's in line. So what is on your credit report? It's pretty basic information. You're gonna have your personal information, your birthday, your social, your addresses, where you've worked. Basically, it's like stalking you. You're gonna have your different credit accounts. You're gonna have credit inquiries, which is essentially stating who has pulled your credit recently. And then you're gonna have all the negative stuff. Any collections, bankruptcies, foreclosures, things that occur, but are only on there for a certain period of time, which we'll talk about. There are 3 major credit reports. There is Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. The reason most credit companies pull all 3 bureaus is because not everything is reported to all 3 bureaus. And so it's a way to collect all the information as a whole, which means if you ever need to update something, you have to update it with all 3 places. Unfortunately, it's not a one-stop shop. Here is how your score is created. What's the number 1 spot up there? History. Guess what, guys? Got to pay your bills. So sorry about you. Okay? If you do not pay your bills, it's what's going to hurt your score the most. But secondly on that list is how much you owe. So we're going to talk about a little trick about that in a minute. This is a lot of information, but the reason I have this slide up is that on the negative things happen in life, okay? They will fall off at a certain period of time. Most collections, charge-offs, things like that will come off after 7 years. But the trick is the number 1 line up there. How many years for a BK to fall off? 10 years. So most people know the rule of like, oh, after 7 years, it's gonna come off, my score is gonna change. Not the case. It is 10 years before that actually falls off. So when it falls off, yes, it's gonna do magic to your score, but just be aware that it's a little longer, unfortunately. So here's your brackets, because everybody wants to know where they rank, right? Pull credit with a bunch of married couples. They're the most competitive people I've ever talked to. I guarantee you there is a who's higher, husband or wife. And the most famous thing is it's usually the wife's score that's higher, which then leads to the husband stating, it's because I pay all the bills, they're in my name, okay? They're not gonna just admit defeat, ever, ever, ever. So, you all know you've competed with your spouses at some point or not. This up here is gonna show you that 800 plus is exceptional. What I want you to know is that the credit scores can go anywhere from 350 to 850, okay? My favorite clients that call me that say, oh, we don't need to pull credit, I'm at 950. I'm like, great, you're in a special land, okay? Because it doesn't go that high. The highest credit score I've seen in 20-something years is an 830-something, and it was from the sweetest little old lady who, when I asked her if there was anything I should be prepared on, told me she had bounced a check in 1970. And I was like, well, I wasn't even born yet, and I'm doing your mortgage, so I'm pretty sure we're going to be okay on your credit score. She was just fine. She was like the highest one I've ever seen. But what in this is, what I like to say is, usually if you're a 700 or higher, you're in a really good bracket, okay? The 620 to 700 is kind of the middle bracket, and then below that is where we can either try to do some improvements, things like that. As far as mortgages or purchasing a home, you only have to have a 580 credit score to buy a house. So it doesn't, there's a lot of availability out there, even if your score is lower. This is the number one thing I guarantee most people do not know. There is multiple algorithms and multiple different credit reports that can be pulled. So when I get that phone call with the 950, right? And then I pull their score and they're a 710. They're like, oh my God, I just checked my credit score on Credit Karma, or I get it on my Capital One card and it said it was an 800. I firmly believe they are not lying to me. But there's 3 different algorithms. There's an algorithm if I'm pulling it for a mortgage. There's an algorithm if a car place is pulling it to buy a car. There's an algorithm if you're getting just a general credit card, okay? So the reason if you're ever gonna purchase a car, purchase a home, you need to make sure that the financial institution that is actually going to be doing the financing is the one that pulls the report to give you an accurate idea of what's going on. Here it shows there's 3 different FICO scores that we use, but obviously based on how your credit history is, it's gonna determine who gets what scores. Did you have a car repo? It's gonna hurt your credit or your score for a car loan versus something else. So here's the tricks of the trade, okay? The big thing was the accounts owed. If you guys remember that, 30% of your score is accounts. So you have a credit limit. As long as you keep your balance below 50% of the credit limit, it will help increase your credit score. Now, obviously people are like, I pay my bill every time, I pay it off every month. Great. Once again, don't think you're lying to me. But the day that you pay your credit card is not the day that it reports to the bureau. It actually reports usually a few days before your payment is scored, or before your payment is received. So even though you may pay it off every month, if I charged $5,000 on a $5,000 card, whether I paid it to a zero when it was due or not, it's reporting I used 100% of that credit limit. So you're gonna wanna always keep it below 50%. And once again, if you're doing the whole paying it off, you may have to do it a few days earlier than you normally do to take advantage of it. Other than that, typical things. Once negative credit falls off, once that BK, it's been 10 years, that will help your score. If there's inaccurate information on your credit report that you can have removed, that will help, which will be great, but disputing may not be the answer, which we'll talk about. These are things that are going to decrease your credit score. Once again, pay your bills, it's the easiest one, right? But a lot of people, when you have all of these credit cards, you don't use them, you cut them up, or they're sitting in some drawer, like, oh, I'm gonna clean my credit up and I'm going to close out a bunch of cards I don't use. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, my 2 oldest credit cards are Victoria's Secret and Express, because where do you shop when you're 17 or 18 and a senior in high school, okay? I may not use those cards. I could probably just use my Visa, but they are the credit cards I have had for 25 years. If I close that account, it will actually negatively impact me because it's gonna take my longest running credit history and remove it. And if something's at a 0 balance or if it's closed, it no longer is impacting your score. So you're hanging onto that Express card or Abercrombie or whatever you were shopping at back in the day, okay? You can pass it down to your kids. So the negative stuff, you're like, oh, I've got negative things, I'm gonna clean it all up. I'm gonna tell them that they are wrong, I am disputing what they are saying. It feels really great, I know. You're like, I'm right, they're wrong. It's gonna do nothing to your score, okay? In fact, sometimes if you're applying for a mortgage and there's a bunch of disputes, I have to have you remove all those disputes to get a mortgage. Now, if you're able to dispute an account that was negative and you get them to say it wasn't negative, beautiful, exactly what you wanna do. If you're able to have an account completely deleted that was some old collection, you took care of it and they removed it, fantastic. Those are the things that you want to try to dispute or clean up, but just you to call and say, I'm right, they're wrong. I swear to God, I returned that Comcast box, right? Everyone's got a $200 collection because they did not return some cable box at some point in their life. That's another big one that a lot of people get stuck on, why you check your credit. Just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons of why you're trying to dispute. The other thing is when you're shopping for something, oh my goodness, you cannot pull my credit. If I have another inquiry or if you pull a hard pull, it's going to trash my credit score. That is a myth. That is what we call sales 101. Okay? If I pull your credit, I'm going to tell you, well, I'm not going to. Some individuals will tell you that I do not want you shopping or looking anywhere else because it will hurt your score, because I just don't want you comparing and looking other places. If you have your credit pulled in a 30-day window, I could have Emily check your mortgage application. I could do it. Someone else could do it. Any credit pulls for a particular subject within 30 days is not going to negatively affect your credit, because once again, the algorithm knows who's pulling it for what, and they understand you are simply rate shopping, program shopping, something like that. You as a consumer are allowed to do that, and they're not going to hit you for that. Now, Christmas time, everybody wants 10% off of everything that they're going to buy. Wrong, okay? You cannot apply for 8,000 credit cards to get a great deal when you are shopping for your mom and your kids, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. Last thing, people, believe it or not, guys, some people have no credit. I had a guy calling me 55 years old, had zero credit. I was like, how is that possible? Because he was a cash man. He was the guy that just carried a lot of cash, and that's all he did. So the great news is building credit is far faster and easier than fixing credit, but both are totally possible, okay? If you're building credit, you probably need about 3 trade lines, 3 different accounts. Once again, things on a credit report are mortgages, car loans, student loans, credit cards, that fancy bike you're gonna buy, maybe a boat right now because all of us need a boat. Those are what's on your credit report, okay? Individuals that have teenagers, you guys get them a credit card. Teach them how to accurately use credit. If I could have a class that I would teach to juniors or seniors in high school, I would quit my job and that's what I would do. Because the amount of financial information that they need to learn before they get that college student ID that's conveniently a credit card as well is really important. Not to mention, you need to help them build credit. There's nothing you can do or buy in today's age that does not involve credit of some extreme or another. But if you teach them how to appropriately do it, it's the key. If anyone's looking to, if people have zero credit, the easiest place to get credit, once again, your Abercrombie stores. They'll give you a couple $100. Targets, Amazon. You don't think they're not gonna give an 18-year-old an Amazon card? Come on. But if you're trying to rebuild your credit and you have a negative score and you just need to get it back up into the good grace, this is the best way to do it. It's called a secured credit card. Google it, you'll find a bunch of different companies that will do it. Capital One does it. This Open Sky actually happens to be a company that does it. And all it is that you send your money into the credit card company. It can be anywhere from $200 to $20,000, doesn't matter. Just has to be $200. And they will give you a credit card for that limit, okay? 2008, BKs, they were a thing. So sent in $1,000 to the credit card company. They gave me a credit card for $1,000. It is used like a regular credit card. You have a bill to pay, you can charge it, you can use it across the globe where they take Visa, great. And once you've established that you know how to do credit accurately and you pay your bills on the time, they will just give you your money back, and then you have an active, normal credit card at that point. So it's like putting your money in a savings account while you're using it. It's a great way to build up a score. The common thing that people hear about or that I talk about is this Experian Boost, or a lot of times the, hey, report your cell phone bill, you can self-report your rent, you can ask the cable companies and the utility companies to report to the credit bureau to help get your score. It's a great concept. It actually doesn't impact your score at all. So it can be a lot of work and not gonna really help where you're gonna get, unfortunately. So it's just kind of something to be aware of. Once again, free credit report, guys. Credit Karma, it's a great thing, okay? If Credit Karma may not give you a score that I would give you if you were doing a mortgage, but Credit Karma is gonna show you things that are opening, things that are closing, the way your score is moving up, moving down. It's gonna give you a general idea. But if you don't do Credit Karma, you can always reach out to any of those 3 bureaus. They will give you a free credit report every single year check it. And that's kind of it. So the first QR code, if you guys want to scan that, that's my contact info. For anyone that is looking, has questions on credit, happy to answer. I get probably a little too excited about it. And then the second QR code is I do a ton of events. Okay, you guys, a ton of events, whether they are social media, business related, mortgage related, credit related. Second QR code is my next one. I have the social media Zoom thing tomorrow. And then next Tuesday in Champlin, there's a first time home buying seminar that I'm throwing for anyone that has questions about things like this. And that's it. Thanks, guys.